Hi, you're listening to the K-12 Engineering Education Podcast.
I'm Pius Wong with today's co-host Rachel Farrig, recording at an Austin cafe. And in this episode, we discuss some notable takeaways from the South by Southwest EDU conference from March 2019 here in Austin, Texas. All right, so...
Hi, Pius.
Hi, Rachel.
How are you?
I'm good. It smells like food in here. We're in a UT cafe, aren't we?
Yeah, we're in this is the Macomb School of Business, their new building. I think it's Rowling Hall.
Yeah, that's why I haven't
It's beautiful.
been in here before.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've only been in one room, and it's beautiful.
It's the only room you need to see. I think the being in the business school is appropriate because this is South by week.
South by EDU.
Yes. And we've been around for the podcast.
Yes, and I'm super jealous. I was not able to go this year.
You got things to do.
I do. I have important state things to do.
Which will be unnamed. But
That was also with a hint of sarcasm.
right. No, but we will we have to discuss basically
Yes.
what are the things that you missed maybe.
Oh gosh, I missed everything. You know, I'm not super extroverted, but I really enjoy the energy of crowds of people building and generating and thinking and, you know, just that hustle and bustle that's got that sort of positive drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I miss that.
You're accurate.
For
I mean,
sure.
what you just said is what I felt over there.
Oh,
and I
great.
mean, I haven't been able to be at the South by conference as much as I've wanted to be too, but I've fortunately been to a good portion. And the atmosphere is still positivity. It's still about new ideas and innovation and trying to solve people's real problems.
That's awesome. So this is kind of an annual tradition for us at this point, right?
Yeah,
Having a South by
rehash.
rehash
Wow, just
or
what are we thinking?
yeah. So and because you've been and I haven't, and you know #toast jelly, I guess I have some questions.
Yeah.
So have you seen sort of an overarching theme?
Yes.
Okay.
It's funny you ask that because I just came, before meeting you, I came from a session where, before that session, I met with one engineer, actually. She was an electrical engineer who got into education because she's really passionate about it. And she was a first-timer to South by and to Austin, to both.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she,
That's a lot.
She, without me even like asking, I was just asking her, oh, how do you like Austin? How do you like South by? And she's like, oh, it's amazing. She said, the theme here is empathy. That's what she's found over these past 3.5 days.
Huh.
And we had been to sessions about it. It's about understanding the needs of the people you serve.
Sure.
She even went so far as to say that she wishes we can go beyond the phrase human-centered. You know how we talk about human-centered design, for example?
Yeah.
She wants to go, and she likes that word empathy because it doesn't...
Empathetic design.
It's not just about humans. She's also talking about, other living creatures, the
Sure.
environment, things that aren't
The
necessarily
whole entire
people.
planet.
Right.
So we build something, maybe that's an instrument that humans would use, but
Right.
it may also end up having a a neutral to positive impact either on the climate or the planet or the
where
soil
we live,
or
the animals.
yeah.
And I am weird, so I'm thinking about sci-fi. I'm thinking about in the future when we find other living things.
Sure.
So that human-centered ends up being meeting the needs of whatever or whomever you're designing for.
Wow.
And she wasn't the only one I heard that from. There
Okay.
are other people around who I've spoken to who are like, this education conference is about how to best meet those educational needs of your people,
And sort of
your community.
needs that we haven't even identified yet.
Sure.
That we don't know what exists or what will exist. And we're aware that we don't know that, but we're thinking about it as we design current things for future use.
Right. And speaking of that, design thinking then also was a theme permeating like everything, and not just the engineering and math type things, whether you were trying to meet the needs of homeless kids in your community or trying to protect privacy for your students. All of these new issues, they're still being thought of in that lens of design thinking about systematically thinking about all the stakeholders and coming up with all these different solutions and prototyping and testing and going back to the needs of people. So
that sounds super familiar, like a design process.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it does make me think, how are we going to evolve? Not that you have to get rid of these old ideas, but okay, how are we going to build on? How are we going to
How are we going to yes and them? I was just thinking that. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
The empathy topic came up when I was at a workshop, which I think I'm going to podcast about actually in a future episode.
Oh, cool.
We were doing something on a project called the Build a Better Book project coming out of CU Boulder, the University of Colorado. Mm-hmm. And they, at one of their departments there, they had a project to bring their educational community together, whether they're young kids or teachers or older kids, to design books for younger kids who couldn't see, who have visual.
And who also might not know Braille yet.
Something. Right. For example.
Wow.
Or it could be older folks as well. But
okay.
The idea of building, you can't build a picture book the same way you would traditionally.
No.
Right. And when you have kids thinking about this design problem, they learn a lot. It doesn't cost that much in terms of resources or time for the teacher, apparently, according to their experience. And from our workshop, I mean, they did what we did. They put on blindfolds and you had to draw out a picture. Yeah.
User testing, empathic user testing.
Yeah, just real
Did
quick.
I get that right?
Yeah, empathic lead user analysis.
A lead user analysis.
I didn't bring up the phrase,
Darn
but
it.
yes. No, it's fine. But
Rachel gets a C.
It's fine. Vocabulary for me is less important than the concept. Now it's like being in my math class. Like, I don't care if they know exactly what lowest common denominator is, as long as they can
get it right and understand it.
Right. But so that's an example of it. And my gosh, there were actually a lot of other cool things that I had seen along those same lines of empathy and meeting the students' needs.
What's a workshop or a speaker maybe that you would recommend? Maybe they're holding other sessions, but maybe not. But maybe it would be worth your time to find them on social media, follow them, like tag along with their thoughts and their journey.
So I didn't see this person, but the big recommendation, and maybe you heard that yesterday when we were talking, but basically several people told me that the keynote speaker with the founder of a school in Africa, Ashesi University.
I have heard of that.
The founder is Patrick Owa, and he spoke, I guess, and apparently his story of how he made that university was really impactful. Because I guess he was in the USA, he had immigrated here, and he was like, okay, so maybe I'll make a good life here. But he went and decided to bring what he had gained, what he had learned, back to Africa.
Yeah.
So that's something I recommend people look at, and I need to do that too. And I guess it's going to be both on the South by podcast and on YouTube, or the video sites. So I'm going to recommend that. Personally, I saw, I forget their names, but I believe they're in Humble ISD here in Texas. They were in a part of the state which was hit hard by Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
And
had a lot of campuses impacted. They were completely closed. They were decimated. Those towns were torn apart.
2017, right?
And kids were homeless. Teachers were homeless.
And it affects schools, of course. It affects districts.
Entire communities were just not there.
They presented on one way in which they addressed Hurricane Harvey and not moved on, but are dealing with it while still learning. They have a giant project-based learning initiative there, incorporating several different schools in the district, where it's mostly environmental science is what it had sounded like. But they were going out analyzing how the hurricane affected, the water systems and the ecosystems, and not just the science of it, but the social science of it. They're going out interviewing victims,
community members, and survivors, and
you learn about documenting, about communication,
about
art. and of course the science as well,
Sure.
analyzing water quality and the chemistry of what's happening.
Yeah. Sounds like maybe economics as
Oh,
well,
yes.
and long-range planning and forecasting.
Right.
And
you know, for me, I'm immediately thinking, oh my gosh, if I were there, you could think of all these design challenges, and they were talking about how to prepare for future hurricanes because, as you know, with climate change,
Sure.
this is a thing that young people are gonna
longer,
have to think
stronger,
about.
more frequent.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I thought their presentation of what they did is really cool, and their resources are public. I mean, if you look up on
So it's
ISD,
replicable.
I mean,
I mean,
I'm not
within
gonna
a
say,
certain
I think
context.
to some degree, yeah. If you spend the
Yeah.
work doing it, I mean, there's no study on how replicable it is, but I think
Sure.
within their district, they proved that it can be done, and
Mm-hmm.
they also, to me, they convinced me that community relevance is still really important.
Sure. I would agree. This is something that happened to you, so it's clearly relevant. But on top of that, how can you take your story, this thing that is relevant to you, and make other people's lives better, or make other communities better, or warn other communities about what could possibly happen? And that's, in education, we tend to talk a lot about the rigor and relevance of standards. And when you are using state standards and learning about them in that tangible or applicable of a way, I think it's more powerful than most of the other.
Longer-lasting.
Yeah. And this is going to probably also open doors and invite students to think about, I really fell in love with this project. What can I do in my future career, whether it's a collegiate path or a vocational path or a technical path or an armed services path or whatever, to continue to make that work occur.
No, I'm glad that you
I'm
say
interested. I'm
You should follow
definitely
them.
going to look that up.
And I think that
yeah.
with your work, which we will not talk about, you might be familiar a little bit with.
I do know a little bit
what's
about
going
their
on.
district, and I would be curious to learn more about that project. Absolutely.
Along that same theme, I just came from another session not too long ago where they were talking about using voice assistants in education now, Alexa, Google Voice, that kind of thing. There is an Israeli research company, education research company, or organization, I should say, that was over here talking about it because they're trying to push the new Alexa skills or Google Voice apps for education. And they're believers in the idea that voice technology can remove some of the barriers that might exist between young people and information or today. Like, I'm not phrasing that exactly right. You know how, like, when you use the computer to do a report or do research, you have to use the keyboard, you have to know how to navigate Windows 10
Yeah.
or how to use the mouse and how to use the internet.
Or follow directions in a certain language,
Sure.
or be able to write, or
Right.
be able
Exactly.
to read well,
So
or
exactly. So it sounds like you're not. Their argument is, okay, well, voice technology has the potential to
Sure.
eliminate some of those barriers because you're
Oh.
speaking to the computer.
This means so much to me because the listeners may not know, but I think you know, my son has dyslexia and dysgraphia. So reading is hard for him, but writing is also hard for him. I hope that he will be allowed the use of typing as assistive technology within the next couple of years. There's not a reason that he needs to, he needs to work on his handwriting, but we don't write reports by hand anymore.
Right.
We don't turn in things in a blue book anymore.
We're going to have to have the conversation about if people have to learn cursive or not later.
Right, sure. And I mean, I have my own personal feelings on that, but then I have these other objective, really, why is it that important feelings on it as well.
Yeah.
And I can see for him that being able to ask a computer to read me some information as I follow along, and then pause it to also ask the computer to record a certain passage or record my voice saying, make these notes. That would be amazing for him.
Right.
And he's not the only one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
English language learners, or
Right.
we call them English learners now. Students who are new to America or new to American educational systems. There are so many applications for that philosophy.
It's a burgeoning
and
field.
that-
So you should stay tuned to that. They're also trying to expand it to more than just English. I guess English is the only language where we really have that right now.
I think so.
I wish you should see one of the tools that I saw in another session. There's a group called understood.edu, and they had a session which was trying to, again, promote teachers' empathy towards students who might have different abilities or disabilities or different ways of learning. Mm-hmm. They have a little tool on the internet, which maybe I can post the link for, where you can try to experience what it's like for someone who has dyscalculia.
Dyscalculia.
Dyscalculia, yes.
Yeah.
I can't say it right, but
that's the math,
numeric equivalent of
yes.
dyslexia, where numbers aren't perceived in the same way as other people, I guess, on the paper, and it's a little bit harder to manipulate numbers.
Yeah.
And it's a little tool where you just have to, make change, get the correct amount of change for buying little objects.
I give you $1 and something costs
Yes.
28 cents. How much do I give back?
But every coin is on there. It tells you how much they're worth, and a penny is not a penny, and like 5 cents might be 47 cents, and you have to calculate on the fly, and they're not the same value every time.
Yep.
And you know what? I was doing it, and I'm like, okay, I get why this is really frustrating.
Yes.
And so if you have that issue, and a teacher doesn't understand that is your issue, I could see how you wouldn't get anything out of a math class.
And I think too, and so again, on the same subject, when I entered kindergarten, I was already reading at about a second or third grade level. So technically, I understand my son's dyslexia and dysgraphia, but I don't. I'm not empathetic
personally.
to it because I just don't get it. I've never experienced it.
Yeah.
And those tools are so valuable because you really begin to understand as a parent, as an educator, as a community member, these aren't snowflakes who need special help, who are a burden to society, or whatever it happens to be. Or if you're a classroom teacher who's really reluctant to implement accommodations or, help your students out with additional assistance, when you see how much they actually struggle and why, the teachers who are reticent to that sort of assistance and support often change their minds very quickly because the frustration level is so high because it is a real thing. So, yeah I will be looking into that too, to just experience the tool and see how that sort of learning disability or learning difference is so impactful.
Yeah. And I guess in the little bit of minutes we have left, I just want to talk about more little tools that I saw that were cool.
Ooh, tools. I love techie things.
It is. And only two. That's the only two that really stood out to me. And I saw a lot at the expo. And if you get a chance, you should check it out. But the two that I'm going to say right now are, one is from Google, the big company. They do good stuff.
It's okay. They do some good things.
We can talk about the controversies of Google.
There is definitely a fiscal impact statement to be made.
Yeah, I'm
but
not
right
getting paid by
now,
Google, but they have a big education focus. They had a big old room at South by, which there was a line for to get in every time. I got in. They have different things that they were showing off, but one that I want to talk about is useful, and I'm going to use it hopefully in one of my classrooms. They have a live auto captioning tool. If you load up Google Slides, if you click on a little button to turn on the auto captioning and you have a mic, it'll automatically put what you're saying in English words right on the screen, and it is not inaccurate. You know how the YouTube captioning is really bad?
Oh, it's
in
horrible.
my opinion.
It's really awful.
It wasn't like that.
Wow.
Maybe the presenter was presenting some memorized lines. I don't think so. Whatever she was saying was on the screen, and I have a little video of it, which is on the Pios Labs Instagram, so you can see it.
Oh, cool.
And I think it'd be great for technical presentations and just improving accessibility of any of your presentations.
It's like live feed closed captioning.
Yeah, and
without the errors.
If my students have to give a presentation, like I would have them do that, especially if their peers are not all like native English speakers. Number one, I think, or maybe you have someone who's deaf or someone who just is using a lot of jargon. Like I know that if I'm speaking math or computer science or if I'm using a bunch of weird technical words,
those
it can pick it
content
up.
vocab words.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool tool, which I want to experiment with more. There's one more.
All right.
Last year I was kind of skeptical. I still am skeptical to virtual reality tools, the things where you put on the headset.
Oh, yeah.
Augmented reality, I was a little more excited in, but still skeptical last year. This year I saw one tool which really made it real. Like, oh, this is what AR could be. And I don't know if I showed you, but this is one example. Like you just put it's from VR Merge or Merge VR.
That is the solar system in front of my face, Pius.
And it's kind of like that Pokemon game where like you throw your camera up, but it's looking at a certain code in the real world, like a pattern. They have these little VR blocks, and if you play video games, you might be familiar with it. But the camera recognizes those patterns on the cube.
Okay.
And it shows the 3D model in relation to that. So you can move your cube and the solar system will move with it. They have other little models where you can look at, say, your liver and like look at it,
oh my gosh.
in augmented reality. I think for medical schools or science classes or anything where it's hard to physically see something, that would be cool.
Like inside the earth.
Inside
Geology.
the body, inside the earth, outside the earth.
Wow.
And the tools for this are free and open source. Like there's a library of pre-made stuff. I think the company wants to make money by selling, like, if you want to store more than 100 megabytes of files or something, kind of like Dropbox or something. But for the average teacher or student, you could just use, TinyCAD or anything that can create some kind of 3D CAD model or Unity. Sorry, Unity. It's a 3D gaming platform, and you can upload your own software. So you could also teach engineering or art. It could be a prototyping tool for engineering. So for me, I think
really
it's a great
exciting
tool.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my picks and I've seen a lot more. So I hope that you got a feel for it.
When we publish, be sure you add in any statements you want to make about, after we recorded, I went and saw this thing or that thing.
Yeah, people should tweet us and let us know what the cool things were.
Oh, that would be great.
And I'm not going to all the after parties.
If you're
so someone should tell us what
exactly.
Yeah,
if you're a listener and you want to weigh in, we always encourage that. Tell us what your favorite parts were, what you wish you'd seen more of, what we didn't talk about that we should have, because sometimes that happens too.
Yeah, and what's going to be next year? Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. We have to start thinking about next year.
That'll be another episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Pius. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Likewise.
Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, listeners. Links to the topics we mentioned today are in the show notes for this episode, and you can also visit the podcast website for all of that information. Point your browser to k12engineering.net. That's k12engineering.net. The K-12 Engineering Education Podcast is a production of my independent studio, Pios Labs in Austin, Texas, where I support many different engineering and education projects like this one. If you want to support the show, just go to patreon.com/PiosLabs and donate today. So thanks for the tips, for the leads, for your encouragement, for your ideas, for subscribing, and of course, thanks for listening. Until next time. One extra bit of post-show content for those of you sticking it out to the end of the episode. Jennifer Gonzalez is the founder of the education blog Cult of Pedagogy, and she closed out the South by Southwest EDU conference this year. I wanted to play one snippet of a raw recording of her keynote that you might find interesting. She described how we make change in education, and she described it through the analogy of how a plane flies. So again, this is Jennifer Gonzalez. Listen in.
Dynamics. There are 4 forces that work on a plane that is trying to fly. The first one is lift. Lift is the force that picks the plane up off the ground. It's upward motion. And it's determined by the shape of the wings. So, in other words, it's something that the engineers can control. If you change the shape of the wings, you can get more lift on the plane. The equivalent of lift in our schools is the stuff that we actually have some control over. It's things like our methodology in the classroom. It's the design of the room itself. It's the materials, the technology that we choose. It's the systems and procedures we put into place. It's the stuff that we learn about at these conferences. The force that works in opposition to lift is weight. That is the force of gravity that weighs it down. This is the stuff we really have no control over. When somebody's designing a plane, they can try to choose lighter materials, but really sometimes things are just heavy. So in schools, weight is things like poverty, it's budget constraints, it's student readiness, it's the stuff that we are handed and we have to make the best of it. The third force is drag. Drag is what pulls the plane backwards. I gotta look at where this diagram is. It pulls the plane backwards, and it's friction. We can see drag in a lot of things in schools. It is stuff like the negativity that I was talking about just a few minutes ago. It is the flaws and missteps that happen whenever you're trying to do something new. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that can give you a lot of self-doubt about whether this is really going to actually work. So all of that stuff creates friction. And also there's fatigue, because all teachers are tired all the time. We've already got too much to do, and so somebody shows up with some idea, and we say, great, one more thing to do. So all of these things can slow down our forward progress. That's all drag. What works in opposition to drag is thrust. In a plane, thrust is created entirely by the engine. That is what moves the plane forward. And when we're talking about change in schools, thrust is generated entirely by you. So 4 forces. We already spend a lot of time talking about lift, about the fine-tuning that we can do to our craft. So for right now, I'm going to set that aside. We also work a lot on how to deal with the weight that we are given. A lot of times that's done on a policy level. So for right now, I'm going to set that aside too. I don't think we talk enough about these other 2 things. How we increase thrust and how we reduce drag so that we can start making these excellent, amazing things happen in our schools.
That's all I'm going to play right now, but you can find a link to her full address in the show notes. What do you think?
We could do it in French.
Oh, I could.
Ooh. Ici, like I would say here is, like ici.
Voilà. Oh, yeah, voilà.
Voilà.
Voilà le podcast
D'ingénierie éducation.
d'ingénierie
I think it'd be both of engineering and of education. We should just be recording this part.
I'm recording.
Okay.